Hi, so I wanted to talk about how Trump and many others, even in the liberal media, like to boast about how the economy was good because of the unemployment rate was so low during Trump's previous years. Even channels that claim to be really liberal, like NPR, will have guys like Kai Ryssdal boast about how great the economy is all the time because of jobs. And same thing Trump does. Jobs. And how the unemployment's so low. So I wanted to kind of essentially debunk the idea that the economy was good because of the job rate. I spoke previously already about how the unemployment is not the unemployment, but the economy is was not really good at all during the Trump years, and I'll link the video in the link. I'll link it below where I talk about that more thoroughly. But here I'm just trying to concentrate on how the unemployment rate is went down because more people left the workforce, which I touched on briefly in my other video. But this kind of explains in more detail why that matters and why it's pretty much a scam when they tell you that the economy is good because of the unemployment rate is so low. So this is written by Eric Sherman, Forbes magazine, and it's strange that even like Forbes could easily explain to you why the unemployment rate is not a good indication of good economy, at the very least of good workers, labor force economy. As some have pointed out about this round of monthly job numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a big factor was a loss of people counted as workers. When they are no longer counted, unemployment drops. So that's like the main thing. So that because the unemployment because more and more people have left the workforce. It's a record number under Trump and even under Obama too. But Trump, it went even higher. The record number of people leaving the workforce, I believe it's at 78 million people that just stopped working altogether in the country. And I know there's other reasons because the baby boomers are retiring, a lot of them, and a record number of millennials are going to college. But this article still explains how it's still it's still a factor to be counted for. So the number of jobs increased by 164,000 in April, but the number of unemployed dropped by 239,000 between March and April. So you're seeing that the amount of people dropping in the unemployed does not match the amount of jobs that actually are being offered, which is suspicious to say the least, right? That is why the employment population ratio, the percentage of all people of working age 16 and up, including people who have stopped looking for work that are employed, dropped from 60.4% to 60.3%. More people disappeared from the labor role. So that counts to why the figures have improved since the financial crisis, but only so much. Now that's key. Here's a graph of the Federal Bank of St. Louis. So I'm going to try to make this a little bigger if I can. There you go. So you could see it better. In the map, you can see that here is the recession as you see it. The recession starts somewhere here in late 2007. You see that big drop. Now here we are. So we've increased, we've done better. But if you take a look at the big picture, this is where we were before. We're like way down here. And you have to go all the way back to somewhere around the 80s to even match it. And if you go to the 70s or below the 70s, is even much lower rate of unemployment, which he goes on to explain is actually more authentic rate of unemployment because there was more workforce participation. So he goes on to explain that yes, different times there was the big changes such as result of divorce and the need for formerly married adults to work. Another is that women wanted a life beyond staying home to tend children. And the third factor is people needing to work because of stagnant household incomes. This was a big change in the 70s, which, as you see, changed the unemployment rate drastically. This is civilian. Just to explain, this is the employment population ratio, which he claims is more accurate to measure things, because this is actually everybody all together, how much people are actually employed, and you see that it gives you much bigger picture where we are. We're way under where we were in actual employment. So it's back to the present. The labor participation rate, the percentage of the entire population working age or not, either employed or actively looking for work, was 62.8%, down from 62.9% in March. Here's a similar long-term look at the labor force participation rate with another graph from the St. Louis Fed. So this is the participation rate, how many people are actually participating in the workforce. This is us now. And then you have to go all the way back to the 1970s to see where we were. So here he explains more thoroughly that there was a large college enrollment among millennials and baby boomers retired, as I said. But then he goes on to reiterate, more people have given up finding work and therefore no longer counted as either working or unemployed. That's why the unemployment rate keeps dropping. It isn't the underlying strength of the economy that reaches all levels of society. The number of jobs might be keeping rough pace with growth of the population, but that is it. There is no broad economic cheer. So he's saying that, if just for more explanation, he's pretty much saying that all that the jobs are doing is keeping up with the population, but in fact, job wages and real job growth is not really happening. That has implications for income inequality. That's bad for the economy, I guess you would agree. Fewer people working means less income and wealth, as well as long-term economic stability, creating pressure on social safety nets such as they are. All this also helps explain the low rate of wage growth that has puzzled many pundits. So apparently a lot of pundits don't understand why the wage growth has been so stagnant for such a long time. The pay rate of jobs has not kept up with inflation at all. Even as he continues on, even with so many people dropping out of the labor force, there is little pressure to increase spending on wages to obtain workers. Maybe the relative employment numbers will finally drop so low that employers will finally be forced to pay more because there won't be enough people available. Then again, look at the St. Louis Fed graph on the employment rate. So we'll look at this again. As you see, this is civilian unemployment rate. We're all the way down here, right? Seems low, but you only have to go back to the 2000s, and then as you can see, we're at the same rate we were right before 1975. So it doesn't seem like that great of progress, as he says. For wages to go up, this unemployment rate has to go below the post World War II, where it was, an economy that only really exists after something like the World War II crash of many countries that made the U.S. a world power. Remember, the U.S. wasn't a power to the world power they are now until after World War II. This is what gave the U.S. the majority of their power. Are we really going to drop to levels of post-World War II employment? It seems unlikely. The labor participation rate at the time was close to 58%. Unemployment as a sole measure of labor force health isn't useful. Such measures as the employment population ratio and the labor participation rate help provide a more complete look at the economy. And the fuller picture suggests that income inequality will continue and worsen over the immediate future. So, for all you people who, all the media figures who keep saying this is good economy, I beg to differ. This unemployment rate has been highly manipulated and highly abused to spread a political lie, a lie about Trump's economy even being good, which is not. It's pretty horrible. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks.